Hey, Lori Frederick, owner of Balance Biomechanics. Today I'm going to talk to you about my top 3 tips to help reduce plantar fasciitis pain. Number 1 is to make sure you have good flexibility and mobility in your posterior chain muscles. We'll explain those in a bit. Number 2, stabilize and strengthen your hips. Number 3, use heat, not ice. So with number 1, having flexibility and mobility in your posterior chain muscles, this can be different for different people. The posterior chain of muscles runs anywhere from the bottom of your foot all the way up the back of your leg, spine, back of your head, all the way to the top of your head. The most common muscles that I find need addressing in the posterior chain are the hamstrings or the calf muscles. This happens to those of us who might be on our feet too much during the day, or you're wearing improper footwear. For those that may need addressing in their hamstrings and you know that you're tight in your hamstrings, I have a great video already for that. Go check that out and address your tight hamstrings, and that might help you release down the chain and give your feet a break. The other culprit is your calf muscles and your lower legs. There's some great tools for addressing your lower leg muscles and getting them to be more flexible and mobile. The newest tool in my toolbox is using floss, not dental floss, but muscle floss. I use rock tape. You can use voodoo floss, and there's probably some other generic items on the market for that. I have a video on flossing for the lower leg, and it's a really great way to develop more mobility in the fascia and the tissues in the lower leg. Oftentimes, whether it's in the hamstring or the calf, if we can bring more mobility and function to those muscles, it gives the feet a break from the pulling up the chain of muscles. It ends up being a little bit of a tug of war, and the feet don't win because they're not very big muscles down there. Lastly, in regards to the posterior chain muscles, you feel comfortable, you can roll with a lacrosse ball or some sort of a ball on the bottom of your feet, then that's a great prevention tool. Sometimes the pain is too much and you really don't want to roll on the bottom of the foot because it's only going to aggravate the inflammation. But if you're at a level where you want to work more prevention and not have the pain again, then please check out this video on how to make the most out of rolling the bottom of your feet and all the different tools that you can use in order to get that accomplished. Okay, tip number 2 is stability in the hip and strength in the glutes. A lot of times this gets forgotten. Whether you're standing all day or sitting all day, the glutes forget how to work and you lose stability in your hip. Now, your hips have a lot to do with your balance and your stability when you move. If those aren't working properly, the body ends up shifting all the responsibility actually down to the feet and the calves, and they take most of the work on, which will develop irritation in the bottom of the foot muscles if they're being overworked. There's a couple great ways to strengthen and stabilize your glutes. One of my favorite easy tricks is when you're brushing your teeth at morning and at night, I want you to try to do it on one foot. And I want you to stand on one foot and try to balance as you brush your teeth. No cheating with the electric toothbrushes. You might have to wiggle around more if you have an electric toothbrush. But that little bit of motion while you're trying to stabilize on an unlocked knee, don't lock the knee out and put it all in the foot. Make sure that hip muscle is working. But that's a good way to start working on your hip stability and understand your differences that you may have from side to side. A great way to kickstart the strength in your glutes is to do lateral work and side to side work. You may have seen people do an exercise where they wrap a band around their shins or their ankles and side step and side walk. Some people call it monster walks, lateral band stepping. There's so many words for it. But that's a great way to initiate some more strength in your glutes because your hips are so three-dimensional, we often forget about moving sideways and even backwards. So sometimes adding new motions into your routine with a little bit of resistance will help build that strength in the hip and then also the stability so it can give your feet a break. My final tip for reducing plantar fasciitis pain is to use heat and not ice. This is kind of a controversial theory coming in, but it's changing the way we think about ice and heat. So I want you to try heat because often plantar fasciitis is a repetitive chronic pain problem. So in order to help loosen up the tissues and the fascia and give you more mobility, heat is very effective in doing so. Whether you use a heating pad or soak them in a hot tub, anything like that, I would encourage you to try if you're one to go straight to ice. What's great about ice is it numbs the pain. So if your pain is unbearable, then yes, the ice will numb your pain. But I want you to consider trying to use heat every now and again, especially in the morning when you wake up and they're extra stiff. If you have an extra 5 minutes and a heating pad to try to heat them up before you get on your feet, it might help relieve some of that tension that's holding there. The heat is also great for the calves and the hamstrings that we mentioned that might be tight as well. So those are my top 3 tips to reduce pain from plantar fasciitis. I want you to try them out. I want you to tell me how it goes. Please comment below and let me know. I love questions, I love comments, so give it a like or an unlike, whatever you need. That helps me keep on track with what I'm doing so I can help you enhance your movement and decrease your pain. Until next time, have a good one.